Hare Krishna.
ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं हरिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्ता काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी नमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hare Krishna. Thank you so much everyone for coming. I feel like being at school again. The desk. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Today we're reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto number 8, chapter number 22, entitled Bali Maharaj Surrenders His Life. Today we're reading from text number 24. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I don't think we have the board, but maybe some of you on your phone. 8, 22, 24. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purushashtabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Shabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Shabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Mataji. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Lokamam Chavamanyate Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Brahmanyam Anugranami Tadvisho Vidunomyaham Yanmada Purusha Stabdo Shri Bhagavanu Vacha the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Brahman, O Lord Brahma, Yam, unto anyone to whom Anugranami, I show my mercy, Tat, his, Visha, material opulence or riches, Vidunomi, take away, Aham, I, Yatmada, having false prestige due to his money, Purusha, such a person, Shtabda, being dull-minded, Lokam, the three worlds, Mamcha, unto me also, Avamanyate, derides. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Lord Brahma, Because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus, he has no respect for anyone within the three worlds and defies even my authority. To such a person, I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions. Purport. A civilization that has become godless because of material advancement in opulence is extremely dangerous. Because of great opulence, a materialist becomes so proud that he has no regard for anyone and even refuses to accept the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The result of such a mentality is certainly very dangerous. To show special favor, the Lord sometimes makes an example of someone like Bali Maharaj, who was now bereft of all his possessions. Srila Prabhupada ki. So in life, it's so easy to become proud. In English they say, even the pauper is proud of his penny. So we become proud at any small thing. And the Lord is making the devotees humble. Once there was a king and he asked his minister, I want to know, what is the daily work of God? So his minister, he said, I don't know, maybe creation. The king said, what are you talking about? Creation is one-off. What is the daily work of God? What does God do all day? I'm here working so hard. What is he doing? The minister didn't know how to answer. The king said, if you don't come back and tell me in the next day, I'm going to kill you. So the minister went out into the kingdom looking very morose, thinking hard. What is the daily work of God? Then he asked his disciple, there was one student he had. He said, the king told me, what is the daily work of God? If I can't answer it, he's going to kill me by the end of the day. The minister student said, that's easy task, easy answer. Take me, even I can answer that. So they turned up in front of the king. The king said, you better have found out the answer. The minister said, it's so easy, even my student can tell you. So the student came forward. The king looked at him and said, what is the daily work of God? This better be good. And the student, he looked at him and he said, hang on, before I answer, you're the one asking the questions, I'm the one giving the answers, but you're sitting on the throne and I'm sitting on the floor? There's no good etiquette. First you come down. First you come down, I will sit there, and then you can ask me a question. So the king was reluctant, but what to do? He came down, the student sat up. The king said, what is the daily work of God? The student said, the daily work of God is to bring the proud down and take the humble up. Material law of gravity means that if you go up, then you must come down. Pride cometh before the fall. As soon as one thinks they are something, as soon as one thinks they have achieved, they are important, they are distinguished, know for sure, punar mushtiko bhav, Prabhupada says, you will again become a mouse. But if you're humble, then Krishna will lift you up, because the spiritual law of gravity is that what goes down must come up. If you bow down in humility, then you will rise up in grace, for sure. Therefore, the Vaishnavas are always remembering in their life, I am very small, I am insignificant. Let me never get into the illusion that I am anyone special. One time the devotees were talking amongst each other, And then they were mentioning someone, oh, he is a big devotee. Prabhupada overheard. Someone was, oh, he is a big devotee. Prabhupada said, big devotee? Narad Muni is a big devotee. We are very small. And therefore, who is a big devotee? Everyone is small. I remember when I was thinking of joining the temple, then you know, all the devotees, they do it, convincing. So at one point I was in a room and 20 devotees were telling me, do it, you should do it, you should do it. So in my mind I had some pride. Clearly, they have understood. I am important. Of course. I always wanted to deny it, but what to do? And then at the end of the meeting, one devotee, he told me, stay back, just stay back here 1 second. So everyone left and he sat me down. And then he said something to me which humbled me and inspired me at the same time. He said, sit down. I sat down, he looked at me, he said, this movement is going to spread all over the world, whether you join it or not. But do you want to be part of it? I said, yes. Nothing is dependent on us. If we are not there, someone else will do it. But we have the opportunity to be an instrument. And therefore, the Vaishnavas are always humble. Humility means, I am a das. Humility means, I am not the doer. Humility means, I don't deserve. Just remember these three Ds. I am a das, I am not the doer, and I don't deserve. Every day, if we remember those three things, and we align every single thing we do in life with these three principles, deeply understanding this, then you live a humble life. And in that humble state of mind, you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Therefore, yes, a das. Just like yesterday, this man was asking, like, why Prabhu? It's interesting, I was thinking, at night I was thinking, because in the Indian culture, Prabhu is reserved for God, generally, no? Prabhu means God. We are not Prabhu, we are Das. It's a good question. But then I was thinking, actually, we're not even trying to become Das. We're trying to become even lower than Das. Kulasheka says in one prayer, Majjanmana phalamidam maduketa bare mad prathaniya madanugraha esha eva tvad bhritya bhritya paricharika bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti mam smaralokanatha. He says, Majjanmana phalamidam, my life will become fruitful. Madhuketa bare, if I serve the Lord, but in what mood? Tvad bhritya, bhritya, paricharika bhritya, bhritya, bhrityasya bhritya, iti mam smaralokanatha. Not if I become the das of the Lord, but if I become the servant of 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 Krishna. So actually, we want many Prabhus in between us and the ultimate Prabhu, the Lord. Therefore, the more devotees that we see as Prabhu, the more devotees that we serve, then we can actually please the ultimate Prabhu. And therefore, a devotee is always offering respect to everyone else as Prabhu. So this is the one quality by which you can understand someone has realized some advancement in their spiritual life. Humility. Rupa Goswami, his humility was so deep. Mahaprabhu says in one verse, Aji hoite dunhar naam rupa sanatan, dainya chadi dainya tomar fatemo raman. Mahaprabhu says, Aji hoite dunhar naam rupa sanatan. From today, Your two names will be Rupa and Sanatan. Mahaprabhu looks at them and says, I'm initiating you, but you give me one Guru Dakshin. Dainya Chadi. Give up your humility. Fate Mora Man. Your humility is so deep that it's breaking my heart. Of course, he was not saying literally, give up your humility, but he says, your humility is so touching. Your humility is so deep that is breaking my heart to see someone so pure, someone so advanced as both of you who have such deep humility. If you're humble, you touch Krishna's heart. Srila Prabhupada's godbrother O.B.L. Kapoor, in his book on the Goswamis, he explains the pastime, the precursor pastime to Rupa Goswami renouncing everything. He says one incident happened which triggered Rupa Goswami to give up everything and come in front of Mahaprabhu as a humble servant. This is how he explains it. Rupa Goswami had a very important position in the government, isn't it? So then, it's explained that now and again the Nawab would call him whenever there was some important work to do. So Rupa Goswami was staying in Ramakeli, and the Nawab was in Nadia. So then sometimes they were calling him. So he said on one particular night, there was a huge storm that broke out. The winds were raging, the storm was coming. Everyone took shelter within their home. And then at that time, a messenger came to Rupa Goswami's home from the Nawab. And the Nawab said, please immediately come to Nadia. On a night like this, in the middle of the night, in a storm like this. But Rupa Goswami was working under the Nawab. So he said, okay, let's go. So he got on the palanquin, 4 palanquin carriers. Rupa Goswami was sitting, and now they were going through the jungles in the middle of the night with a raging storm. And as they went through one village, Rupa Goswami was on the palanquin, and as they were going through one village, they heard one washerman and his wife having a conversation. And the washerman said to the wife, who in the world is traveling at this time in a storm like this? Who in their right mind would do something like this? And the wife looked at the husband, and Rupa Goswami heard her answer. And her answer was, who is going on a night like this? I have no idea. It could only be a thief, a dog, or a slave. It can only be one of these 3. Rupa Goswami was on the palanquin. He was thinking, I think I have such a high position in the government. I am a slave because I'm completely under the control of this person. I think I'm the one earning. I'm the one getting so many things. I'm the one who has so much power and position, but factually I'm just a slave. He said, I am the thief because this body was given to me by Krishna, and now I'm using this body. I've taken it and I've sold it to someone else. And he said, I'm a dog because I just go around completely dependent on the master. At that moment, Rupa Goswami said, I need to leave. And that is what triggered Rupa Goswami to then go to Mahaprabhu. And Rupa Goswami comes to Mahaprabhu and he says, Nicha jati, nicha sangi, patita dham, kuvishaye kupepadi, gonai nujanam. He says, people call me a learned person. Nicha jati, I was born in a low family. Nicha sangi, my association is low. Patita dham, Practically, I'm just fallen in this world. Kuvishaya kupepadi gonainu janam. My life has been wasted. So all of us can actually think, maybe we are also slaves, maybe we are also thieves, maybe we are also like the dogs, although we think we're so high. Therefore, devotee, this humility comes deep within their heart, and that humility gives rise to love for Krishna. So here, Bali Maharaj, Krishna is pulling him down. As soon as you get some success in the world, you can get in the illusion that I'm someone great. No, no. Krishna will bring you down. The daily work of God is to bring the proud down. And Bali Maharaj, he surrenders. 3 steps. That's all that Vamandev asks for, 3 steps. Do you know why he asked for 3 steps? Why 3 steps? Why not 4 steps? Why not more? 3 meters? Why 3 steps? I give you a clue. My 3 steps and his 3 steps are different. Why does Vamandev ask for 3 steps? To lie down. To lie down. If you walk on the ground 3 steps, that's the length required for you to lie down. That's why he asks for 3 steps. Because Srila Prabhupada writes in one letter, what does a devotee need in their life? All a devotee needs is a little space to lie down, a little bit of prasadam, and some service to do for Krishna. That's all a devotee needs, nothing else. So Vamandevi just asks for 3 steps, and then of course we know what he does. When Bali Maharaj says, yes, I'll give 3 steps. But what these 3 steps also signify is 3 stages of surrender. The whole pastime of Bali Maharaj is all about surrender. It's explained that different devotees exemplify different angas of devotional service. Shri Vishnu smarane parikshita bhavet vaya shaki kirtane prahlada smarane tadangri bhajane lakshmi pritu pujane. Like this. Who represents Shravanam? The perfection of Shravanam. Parikshit. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavet. Who exemplifies Kirtan? Vaya Saki Kirtane Sukadev Goswami. Who exemplifies remembrance of Krishna? Prahlada Smarane. And who represents Pada Sevanam, worshipping? Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi. And who represents puja or deity worship? Pritu, Pujane. Pritu, like this. Then who represents friendship? Arjun. Who represents Dasyam? Hanuman. And who represents complete surrender? Bali Maharaj. Sarva Shvatma, Balir. So he represents full surrender. Now surrender takes place on, you can say broadly 3 levels. If you look at the Gita, even Arjun's surrender goes through 3 levels. The first surrender is in 2.7. Shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. The first stage of surrender is the surrender to hear. Let me hear from another person superior to me and get some knowledge from them. This is the first step of surrender. Very good. But then the next step of surrender is later on in the Gita. Krishna says, Devi hiesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Here Krishna is saying the second step of surrender is to know that you're in a complex world which is very difficult to overcome. And how do you overcome that? You have to engage in service. You have to surrender to the process of Krishna consciousness. So the next level of surrender is not just to hear from the devotees, but the next level of surrender is then to begin giving something to Krishna. But then the final and ultimate level of surrender, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam saranam braja aham dvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami ma sucha. The final level of surrender is that you don't just hear from the devotees or hear from the Lord. You don't just give and serve and offer to the Lord. But what you do is you actually surrender your heart to that person. One type of surrender is the hearing. The next type of surrender is the giving. But the ultimate type of surrender is the aligning of one's will with the will of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Bali Maharaj, if you look in his pastime, it's the same process of surrender. First, what does he do? He hears. What do you want me to do? Tell me, I'm open. Whatever you want, I'm all ears. Already surrendered, but just on the hearing level. Then later on, what happens? He surrenders by giving. Because the Lord says, I just want 3 steps. And with 2 steps, Bali Maharaj gives everything. All the upper, middle and lower planetary systems, all given. But Krishna is not satisfied. Because hearing is one surrender. Very good. Giving is another surrender. Very good. But I want more. And therefore he says, with the 3rd step, where am I going to put it? Put it on my head. And that refers to the surrender of giving one's heart, aligning oneself's will with the Supreme Lord's will. And so, yes, Bali Maharaj gives 3 steps of land. But ultimately, it's also teaching us that there are 3 levels of surrender. Therefore, yesterday I was explaining that we can't think that we're going to be comfortable in material life. But the interesting thing is, we can't even think that we're going to be comfortable just in our spiritual life. The only comfort is when we're completely aligned with Krishna, comfortable in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, through these stages of life, Krishna will keep drawing more and more. And here Krishna says, I'm taking away. But what Krishna is taking away is all the illusion, and he's drawing more and more surrender. And that surrender is the ultimate goal of our life. So here Krishna is saying, when we become materially opulent, then we become proud. To never be proud. Kunti Maharani says, Janmeshwarya Shruta Shribhir Edaman Amadapuman Nirvarhatya Vidatum Veitamakinchana Gocharam. In life, if you want to know whether you got good karma, just ask yourself, Janma, was I born in a good family? Yes, good karma. Aishwarya, do you have wealth? If the answer is yes, good karma. Shruta, good intelligence, good karma. Shri, beautiful, good karma. But Kunti Maharani says, if you become intoxicated by all of these things, if you feel that this makes you valuable, if you feel this makes you successful, and if you're therefore trying to increase these things, you can never worship the Lord with sincere devotion. Only one who realizes these things are completely insignificant. And is mentioned by the Acharyas that of these 4 things, the thing that's the most intoxicating is Aishwarya, opulence. Because as soon as you have money, then the tendency to be the controller and the enjoyer increases more and more and more. So Krishna takes it all away. If we have these things, we don't need to give them up. But we need to realize that they can make us proud. And therefore, if we have these things, we have to realize they're gifts from Krishna and they have to be utilized for Krishna. Then those things can be the cause of your deliverance. Otherwise, all of those things, and especially opulence, leads people to become completely illusioned in this world, completely proud. And in that pride, they miss out on the greatest opportunity of the greatest wealth, which is to have love for the Supreme Lord. If you're proud, you can't last in spiritual life. Because if you're proud, definitely you will commit an offense. But if somehow, even if you remain in the Krishna consciousness movement, if we're proud, if you're proud, you can't learn. Because when we're proud, there's no space for any more knowledge to go in. And even if somehow we're proud, we remain in the movement and we learn many things, if you're proud, you can never love. Because a proud person is always focused on themselves. And while we're focused on ourselves, there's no room to be selfless. And without being selfless, there's no room for love. Therefore, if you're proud, you can't last, you can't learn, and definitely you can't love. And so, the daily work of God is to bring the proud down and to lift the humble up. And Bali Maharaj, he is experiencing that. First, the Lord will take away everything from him, bring him down. And then, in humility, the Lord will give everything back to him and again lift him up. And this is how the Lord expertly deals with his devotees in order to bring them to the supreme perfection. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, if anyone has any question or comment. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Maharaj. Could you please give us something about your background, how you joined ISKCON, and where were your best place?
Thank you, Prabhu. Everyone has their story of how they joined ISKCON. But I say there's only one story for everyone. A devotee came in your life and destroyed everything. That's it. There's only one story. All the rest is just details. There's only one story. Devotees are disruptors. They come into your life and they disrupt everything. So you, me, every single one of us here, we have been victimized by the Vaishnavas. So the first person who disrupted my life was Srila Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada had conviction, Prabhupada had clarity, and Prabhupada had incredible compassion. If you meet someone who has that combination of qualities, they have complete conviction, they have complete clarity in what they're conveying, and at the same time they have a heart of love. Those types of people are dangerous. So Srila Prabhupada captured my imagination, and then I was impressed by the devotees. Because the devotees, you know what impressed me about the devotees? Three things impressed me about the devotees. The first thing is how much prasadam they could eat. That was like super impressive for me. I was like, God, these guys, it's definitely superhuman capacity. The second thing that impressed me about the devotees was that they could answer any question. It's like, these guys can answer anything. Where do they get all these answers from? And the third thing that impressed me about the devotees was that they were so hardworking. I saw these devotees morning to evening, serving. And so for me, how did I come to Krishna consciousness? The devotees captured my imagination. Special people.
Would you like to tell us where did you meet Prabhupada? This city, Vrindavan or somewhere else?
Did well, physically I never saw Srila Prabhupada with my eyes. But yes, I heard Srila Prabhupada, his lecture. That was the first real contact. Back in those days, Prabhupada, they had these Prabhupada lectures on white cassettes. So I had one of those cassettes, I got them from somewhere. So I heard Prabhupada's, and I must have heard that lecture many times. And definitely something in Srila Prabhupada's voice was profound. Mukunda Maharaj, he mentions when he went to see Prabhupada at the Bowery, he says, I heard Prabhupada lecture and I couldn't really decipher what he was saying, but the tone of his voice made me think this man has something urgent to tell the world. I don't know what it is, but definitely there's something in his voice, some urgency. So the sadhus, they have this potency in the sound vibration. So, yes. Yeah, then I met the devotees and then, what to say? Rest is history.
And am I allowed to ask another question? Why is there so much importance about the lotus feet of Krishna?
Why is there so much importance of?
You have to
Lotus feet of Krishna. Nama pankaja nabhaya, nama pankaja maline. Krishna has a lotus mouth, he has a lotus navel. Krishna has lotus feet. Krishna's lotus feet are specifically stressed because they give shelter. Krishna with his feet can kick away all of our karma. Krishna with his feet can give us full protection. Krishna with his feet is blessing the devotees. And therefore we always meditate on Krishna's lotus feet. On Krishna's lotus feet are many, many different signs. So the acharyas, what they mention is that each one of these signs have different meanings. For example, on Krishna's lotus feet is an elephant goad to catch the elephant. So the acharyas mention if you take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, then it captures the mind, which is like an elephant. On Krishna's lotus feet, there is a chakra. So the chakra represents the complete severing of all of one's attachments. On Krishna's lotus feet, there is an umbrella. And that umbrella represents, just like how Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill and used it as an umbrella to protect from all of the onslaughts of Indra. In the same way, Krishna's lotus feet will protect one from all the unpredictability of material nature. So Krishna's lotus feet are adorned with many, many different signs. And each one of these signs gives a devotee a gift in their life. And therefore the devotee takes shelter of those lotus feet. Okay, thank you.
When you talked about the importance of praying all of us as devotees, sometimes in that capacity where you're trying to be the servant of the servant, there's a byproduct of awe and reverence, and then sometimes that unknowingly leads to the side effect of pride and ego in those devotees, even if it's subtle within them, or even yourself.
understand. Like ego, you mean that people respect you?
Yeah. So you start
Oh,
to
because
feel
people are trying to become, devotees are trying to become the servant of the servant, so sometimes they want to serve us.
Yeah, they want to serve you.
They want to serve us, and then we develop a certain...
Yeah, because there's this awe and reverence that gets created, unknowingly, but it does. And then it becomes, you start to feel it, you start to feel like you said, like you start to feel important, but you start to feel,
So how do we avoid that?
Is it ever going to go away? Is that something that's just going to always be there?
Some devotees get incredible amounts of respect in their life. And sometimes you think, how does someone digest all of that glorification? Krishna may, in small or big ways, send glorification our way. How do you digest that? The devotee digests it in 3 ways. The first thing is that when they are glorified, they remember everything I'm being glorified for is a product within me that has been gifted and crafted and cultivated within me by my gurus. And therefore, if someone sees something good in me, it's actually a glorification of those who took an interest in my life. Before the devotees took an interest in our life, we were nowhere. Sometimes, like great footballers or great cricket players, what they do is once they get famous, they go back to the old school field where they used to play as a kid. And they remember, relax, you were just a kid here playing. You're not anyone important. But people came into your life and made you and brought you to where you are now. So when we're glorified, we see it as a glorification of our teachers. The second thing is when we're glorified, we see it as a glorification of the person glorifying us. Just look at how magnanimous, just look at how glorious, just look at how Saragrahi Vaishnav they are, that they're able to encourage me and inspire me to continue serving. Their glorification of me is a reflection and an indication of their own glory. And the third way as devotees is when we get glorified, we realize this is what Krishna is telling me I need to become. I'm not there. Thank you for reminding me that this is what I need to be. Oh Prabhu, you're so much this, so much that. Yes, now Krishna is reminding me, this is what I need to do. So like this, when we receive glorification, it doesn't become intoxicating, but it actually becomes purifying and elevating. And therefore, a devotee doesn't need to run away from glorification. A devotee needs to be aware that it's very dangerous, but a devotee can also utilize it to deepen their humility. Power amplifies. So what you'll find is that if a proud person gets power, then their pride increases more and more. But what you'll see is that when a humble person gets power, it amplifies their humility and makes it deeper and deeper. And in the same way, if a proud person is glorified, then it makes them more and more proud. But when a humble person is glorified, they know the art of how to use that to become more and more humble. I see so many hands, I don't know who's choosing. Oh, it's whoever goes to the mic. Oh, we have to go.
No.
Is it? Oh, it is online, is it?
There are so many people watching online, and one of them is asking a question.
All right.
I can answer that. She wants to know, you mentioned about aligning the will with the will of God. So how do we align the will with the will of God?
Relatively, it's easy to follow the word of God. Because when you read Shastra, you can pick and choose which words you want to follow. Oh, sorry, you didn't hear the question? How do we, I said that we should align ourselves with the will of God. That's the highest level of surrender, to align your will with the will of God. So how do we align ourselves with the will of God? So to follow the words of God is still relatively easy, because you can pick and choose which ones you want to follow. But harder than following the word of God is to follow the will of a devotee. Because devotees are very specific. Do this. Therefore, if you really want to understand what is the will of the Lord, then we need to try to hear the words of the devotees. The devotees, through their words, are guiding us, telling us, revealing to us what Krishna's will is. And therefore Krishna speaks through the mouths of his devotees. And so, therefore, everyone requires guidance in their life. Without guidance, we are lost. So sometimes we're scared. We don't let devotees into our lives. Keep a safe distance. Smile from a distance. But eventually we should try to find Vaishnavas who we can invest our heart in. Because if you are able to surrender to the right type of Vaishnav, then the Vaishnav can take you to Krishna. The Vaishnav can help you to hear what Krishna wants of you. Therefore, we require that. Alright?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, how can we see the level of surrender?
How can we see our level of surrender? As I mentioned, there are 3 levels of surrender: hearing, giving, and then aligning. First, we have to ask ourselves, how much am I eager, open, and absorbed when I hear from the Vaishnavas? You will know a surrendered person because when they hear Hari Katha, they are in a humble frame of mind thinking, what is Krishna trying to tell me? This is for me. Sometimes we're in a class and we're just thinking, what a great class. I wish that person was inside this class. They really need to hear this one. Where are you? It's on WhatsApp. You should be listening to this class. Yes, yes, very good. Maybe the class is also for you. So the first level of surrender is that the Vaishnava is always thinking, what is Krishna telling me? Always open. Open to correction. Open to elevation of understanding. Second level of surrender is giving. So then we have to ask ourselves, how much am I utilizing every part of my life for Krishna? Yad karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad johoshi, dadashi yad, yad tapashyasi konteya, tat kurushva, madarpanam. Whatever you eat, whatever you have, give it to Krishna. Manasadeho, geho, jo kichu mon. It's all yours, take it. In Vrindavan, we once went to someone's house and so someone was saying, what's that? He said, that's Krishna's cupboard. What's that? That's Krishna's bed. What's that? That's Krishna's clock. What's that? That's Krishna's kitchen. And he pointed at Krishna and said, who's that? That's my Krishna. Everything is Krishna's. Krishna is mine. Mamata. Everything is Krishna. So then that's the second way in which we understand our surrender. That what are we doing practically? What are we giving? How much of our life are we holding back? Here, Krishna, take all for you. And Krishna is saying, but what's behind your back? I want to see that. No, so much for you. Yes, that's very good. What is there? And then third level of surrender is aligning. This is the hardest one. Because Krishna switches everything up. Krishna changes all the... You're like, Krishna, this is not the plan. Krishna changes everything. Are you ready to walk with all of Krishna's changes? Vraja means to walk. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Vraja also etymologically means that the Brajabasis are always walking with Krishna. Krishna may go this way, this way. Krishna says, let's jump into a tree. Let's go into the mouth of Aghasura. Let's go here, let's go there. Well, Krishna, are you crazy? Okay, we'll go with you. Ready to always go with Krishna's plan. But we're fighting. No, Krishna, how you could do this? No, Krishna, I know better. Come in front of Krishna on the altar. Krishna, you're smiling. You're on the altar smiling, playing your flute. Do you know what I'm going through? That's the hardest one. Put your hand up. If there's not one thing you want to change in your life. If you can put your hand up, I take the dust from your feet. That requires surrender. Who can say, Krishna, I'm happy. Kuch icha nahi. No desire. You already gave me everything. Everything you're doing in my life is perfect. I don't want to change one thing. That's surrender. So hard. It's amazing because it's so hard and it's so natural at the same time. To be yourself is simultaneously the hardest and easiest thing in life. It's a paradox. Surrender is simultaneously the easiest and hardest thing. Don't ask me how it works. One day if I'm there, I'll share with you. So this is how we judge. Hearing, giving, aligning.
Thank you so much for sharing these words of wisdoms. So in your lecture you were explaining like we should use all the, whatever we have received, we should first of all accept them as a gift of Lord Krishna, and then we should use them in His service. So how do you understand like beauty, how you can understand like how you can engage your beauty in service?
People listen to beautiful people. It's a social known fact. If a politician is handsome, they have much greater chance of getting elected. It's a social known fact. Even when Krishna came as Mohini Murti, then her beauty was so captivating that Mohini Murti went to the demons, they were completely bewildered. Yes, whatever you want. So, if you've been given beauty, offer your beauty to Krishna. Don't offer your beauty to some relative relationship of this material world. And know that as a result of that karmic thing, people may give you some attention. Don't try to draw attention to yourself, but know that even if you don't, people are going to, because it's a karmic gift. Never use it to exploit. Never use it to enjoy, but simply engage it for Krishna. And if people are going to listen to you, Jaradeka, Tarekaha, Krishna Upadesh. Want to listen to me? Surrender to Krishna. That's what you should do. So, like that. Chintamani was, we were talking about Chintamani. Chintamani Jayati Soma Girir Gurur Me. Chintamani has become my guru because she was a prostitute, obviously attractive. And she came to Bilva Mangal Thakur and said, if you had this much devotion for Krishna, and it penetrated his heart. So even a prostitute can become a guru. So yes, but we don't flaunt any of these things. And we have to be careful because it's intoxicating. Because these things give you attention. When you're intelligent, you get attention. When you're beautiful, you get attention. When you got money, definitely you get attention. And then we think, me, I'm something great. In a moment, Krishna can, boom, take it away. Like that. Once I met someone, amnesia, banged his head, amnesia. In 5 minutes, this person was so intelligent. In 5 minutes, he couldn't even remember his own name. Krishna can take it away. Anyway, my God, this pastime is dangerous, you know. I'm here in Melbourne. My God. I'm like here in Melbourne speaking about this pastime for the last few days. And I'm just like, Swami is giving it the big one, you know, on the mic. I don't know what Krishna is planning around the corner, you know. This is like, we're talking about all these things. May we pray that we have the presence of mind to see Krishna's hand even in the most confusing situations in life. How long are we going? Should we go?
Hare Krishna. What practical steps can we take in our lives to develop humility and tolerance? And like in our lives and also in mentality as well.
I remember once His Holiness Kadamba Maharaj, we told him to give a seminar on humility. So you know how he started the class? He said, humility? Humility? Because you guys are never going to become humble. That's how he started the whole class. He said, we're never going to become humble. But he said, in your life you have the opportunity to take the humble position. One day maybe we'll become humble. But what we can do in every single situation is we can take the humble position. And what's the humble position? The position of service. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says humility is the complete absence of the enjoying spirit. And if you switch that statement, what it means is that humility is the complete presence of the service spirit in every situation. And therefore the easiest and most practical way to become humble is to ask in every situation, how can I serve? If someone is suffering, how can I serve them? Lend them your ears. If you're a parent, how can I serve my kids? If you're a leader, how can I serve the people underneath me so they can flourish in their service? In every situation, just try to be a servant. If you're speaking a class, then how can I serve others to understand and become inspired by the immortal words of the Bhagavatam and not draw attention to myself? If I'm a kirtan leader, how can I serve to encourage everyone to chant from their heart? That's what we're trying to do. So it means to take ourselves out of the center, which is hard. But service is so relishable that if you just get into service, if you learn to love devotional service, then it becomes much easier to be humble. Because it said there's Jadananda, the happiness that comes from material things. Higher than that is Brahmananda, the happiness that comes from impersonal understanding. Higher than that is Premananda, the happiness that comes from love. But the Acharyas say even higher than that is Sevananda, the happiness that comes from service. Therefore, even when Krishna's charioteer Daruka is fanning and he feels symptoms of ecstasy, then what does he pray for? Let those symptoms disappear so that I can carry on with my service. Because the happiness of service is the highest. And so, if service becomes your life, you're on a good track. Once we had a pujari at the manor. His name was Jivapati. He was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He served Radha Gokulananda for 40 years. Finally, he came to the hospital. He became very sick. So one day a devotee came into the hospital and Jivapati Prabhu was looking very sad. So the devotee said, what happened? He said, the doctor came to me today and he said that there's a possibility I can get out in 1 week. So the devotee said, why are you so sad? That's great news. And Jivapati Prabhu said, but the doctor told me, even if I get out of the hospital, I won't be able to serve on the altar. And then Jivapati Prabhu looked at the devotee and he said, if I can't serve, what's the point of living? The devotee left. And the next day, Jivapati Prabhu left his body. And the reflection of the devotee was that for him, if he couldn't serve, why are we here? What's the point? Just to enjoy chapala sukh, come and go. There's no other reason. There's no reason to be in Melbourne. There's no reason to be in the city. There's no reason to be in this world if we can't serve. Therefore, just try to become a servant. You've been endowed with so many things. Use it. And then life becomes blissful. Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing for me. Whoever says it just...
Maharaj.
Okay.
Half-day fasting today.
It's half-day fasting? Okay.
So we have time, no break.
Oh, we have time?
No time.
Do we have time for one question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Maharaj, thank you. Maharaj, we understand that Krishna takes away things from our devotees' lives. At the most gross level, Asat Krishna, we pray for that. The desire for temporary material enjoyment. Oh Krishna, please remove these desires of my heart. Then we also understand Krishna, through these pastimes, opulence is being taken away, so that they don't act as distractions and they don't create divergence on the path of devotional service for a sadhaka. Now, my question is, what about when Krishna, it appears, takes away your spiritual aspiration, something that you've sincerely worked for, something that you have consulted with your authorities and you have a spiritual goal in mind, and you work sincerely and you work really hard for that, but it does not materialize, or it's kind of taken away, it gets jeopardized. How do you deal with yourself in that scenario?
So Krishna takes away material things, but what about when Krishna seems to take away your spiritual projects, your spiritual offerings? After Prabhupada spread the whole Krishna consciousness movement in one very beautiful lecture, at the end of the lecture, Prabhupada says, who knew I would come to America? Who knew all of you would come to me? Who knew I would meet my spiritual master? Who knew that this Krishna consciousness movement would spread all across the world in this way? And then Prabhupada says, these are all Krishna's arrangements. We can't understand how things are going on. And then Prabhupada breaks down in tears. Prabhupada was being denied again and again. Jhansi failed. Delhi failed. Prabhupada writes to the Prime Minister, I'm crying alone in the wilderness. Prabhupada comes to America. Butler, not the right place. Moves to the Upper East Side of New York, not the right place. Then moves down to the Lower East Side, the Skid Row. And in the most unlikely place, the Krishna consciousness movement takes birth. Prabhupada came from the center of the spiritual world, Seva Kunj Vrindavan. And then Krishna sends him to the center of the material world, New York, Lower East Side, Skid Row, to begin the Krishna consciousness movement. Who can understand it? Krishna is a chess player. He's 100 steps ahead. And he's moving the board in inconceivable ways. So even when a project seems to fail, it must mean that there's something greater that Krishna wants you to do. When I went on a book distribution, one devotee told me, learn to take a no in style. I said, what do you mean? I don't want no's. He said, no, learn to take a no in style. Are you interested? No. Don't worry, have a great day. Have you got time? No. Don't worry, have a great day. Learn to take a no in style. Because every no is one closer to a yes. And then later on I realized it's not just the art of book distribution, it's the art of life. Because you have a plan and Krishna will say no. Because you will have a person that you want and Krishna will say no. And you will have an idea and Krishna will say no. And every single time, if you don't lose your enthusiasm and you just say, Krishna is clearly leading me to a bigger yes, then eventually it will all come. At one point, they wanted to close the manor down. Everyone was completely bewildered. How is it that Krishna is allowing this to happen? The net result of the attempt to close the manor down is that we ended up buying another 100 acres of land. We got media exposure all over the country. We did a demonstration of 10,000 people on Parliament, and the amount of attendance at the temple multiplied by 100 times. And these villagers were like, maybe we should have just kept quiet. Because every time Krishna says no, he's leading us to a bigger yes. And that's why I said the most difficult part of surrender is not the hearing, it's not the giving. The hardest part of surrender is aligning and being totally okay with Krishna and how he wants to move everything in our life. That's the hardest one. So yes, learn to take a no in style, because Krishna, Prabhupada said, you have 2 hands and Krishna has 10. So if Krishna wants to take away from you with his 10 hands, how much you can resist? And if Krishna wants to give you with his 10 hands, how much anyway you will be able to accept? Therefore you can't resist it. He may take it, and when he gives you, he'll give you beyond your wildest imagination. You won't know what to do with it. You say, Krishna, you're amazing. Wonderful Krishna. There's a chapter in Bhagavatam. So Krishna, na yasya karhichit papan. No one can understand this plan. Too smart. Not possible. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Prabhupada ki, Janitai Gaurapramanande.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,